I'm here with Dianne Finnigan of the Dirty Seahorse. And Dianne, I'd like to ask you to explain your business, give us a little information on where we can find you, and then we'll get into some of the background information on how you came to this point in your life where you have a business like this.
Sure. We are located on our website, The Dirty Seahorse. We are also located on Facebook, Instagram, Pinterest. That pretty much covers it. Oh, LinkedIn.
Okay, and all with the handle of the Dirty Seahorse?
Yes.
So tell us a little bit about how you got to this point in your life where you have this company called the Dirty Seahorse.
Well, we were actually vacationing in Hawaii, and when we were at the Maui Ocean Center, that's where we first learned about the Great Texas garbage patch. And we learned about all the devastation that was happening to marine life and the coral reefs and what was happening in the world. And then we came home, and then I started investigating it more and more. And then I realized it's a really serious problem. I did a lot of research, and I realized that it was a worldwide problem. And so then I started looking into ways to try and help reduce it. So that's when we came up with the idea of recycling. We actually sourced out recycling plastic into apparel. And that's when we come up with the idea of coming up with the company. And then from there, we decided to make it a 360-degree circular company. So therefore, then all the suppliers had to do good as well. Not necessarily environmentally or socially, either one.
Oh, okay.
They have to do good at some point.
Okay.
So either they have to be a green supplier or they have to do a give back, but they have to do something good.
Can you give us an example of what kind of perhaps network vendors that you have that they're doing good? We love to hear that.
Sure. Our suppliers that we have in the States, we have one in North Carolina and one in New York, and both of them they take plastic bottles, okay? They actually turn the bottles into flakes, okay? Then they turn them into pellets, they melt them, and then from there they create fibers and then fabric and then the apparel out of it.
Actually, I saw that on your website. I was interested by that cycle of how it's made into pellets and then into yarn and eventually into apparel. Do you want to say a little more about the apparel? Because is the apparel your final product?
It's part of it. We also do things like water bottles or metal straws, because that was a huge issue. Like when we were in Hawaii, because whether people know it or not, the plastic straws actually get caught in the nasal passages of sea turtles and they die from it.
Mm.
So that's one of the reasons why we decided to go with the metal straws, because they're reusable. Same with the water bottles.
So your business has evolved into not just providing a product that's made out of waste plastic, but also to prevent it from actually getting into the oceans to begin with, right?
That's correct, yes.
Okay, so tell us how perhaps your first job that you ever had, how has that served you in becoming a woman entrepreneur?
It has trained me to actually manage people very well, and it has taught me to be very resourceful.
Mm-hmm.
Even tracking back suppliers, doing research, looking at packaging, all of it.
Mm-hmm. Good. So the whole cycle. Yeah.
The whole cycle.
The whole cycle of business. That's good. And what is your big why at the moment in taking your business forward?
The big why is that we're trying to make a difference. We are actually trying to influence people's buying patterns.
Okay. And can you tell us more about that? What is a buying pattern that you're trying to disrupt?
We're trying to disrupt it in the way that we're trying to get consumers to think about their purchases before they make them. So that way they make good purchases, ones that are environmentally and socially benefit. They benefit the world, they benefit people.
Mm-hmm. Good. Does that serve your, a deep purpose that you've had most of your life? Or is this something that's sort of grown out of, like you said, you were in Maui. Was this a light bulb moment for you?
Well, Patricia, we can go back a little bit further than that. I'll give you an example. Something that happened that really changed my life and my kids' life forever, okay? And that was the fact that we had a house fire in 2003, okay? And we lived at my mother's for a year while we tried to rebuild our house and rebuild our life. And I'll never forget my kids saying that one of the most memorable experiences they had was when we moved back into our house. We didn't have any furniture. Mm-hmm. So all we had was a coffee table and 4 pillows to sit on, and we ate our supper. Mm-hmm. And they said it was one of the best times that they ever remember in their life. And from that, it taught us humility.
Oh, okay.
It really opened your eyes, because for them, they went to school one day and come home and there was nothing left. They come home to nothing. And it really makes you think. And from that moment forward, we did a lot of charity work. Like we did I couldn't even name them all to you. United Way, like hospice, like all kinds of different charities.
And were they focused on a similar thing, or tell me a little
more?
No,
not necessarily. No, not necessarily. Because we did like the food bank, United Way. We did all kinds of different ones, mm-hmm. raising money for them or doing stuff for them.
Mm-hmm. So it was a time of a big wake up, right?
Oh yeah, it was a big wake up.
Humility, and how are we going to spend our lives, the rest of our lives? Yeah.
Yeah, it's not all materialistic. Can't be.
Yeah. It's, you'd say it's a great story. Unfortunately, there was loss, and but you have taken that loss and found purpose in that loss.
Yes.
Would you say that?
Yes, definitely.
Yeah. What kind of advice would you give to another woman entrepreneur at this point?
Don't be afraid to reach out and get help.
Ah, okay. Good.
That's the one thing I have learned, like through Innovation Guelph, is don't be afraid to reach out and ask for help.
Yeah, because you're part of a program with Innovation Guelph, which is a great program for women entrepreneurs. That's great, especially for women like yourself that are in businesses that make a huge social impact, right? It gives you the opportunity to develop your business. That's great. That's great information for, I would imagine, for a lot of women who would like to have a business like that, where they make a difference and there's social impact, and they need to know there's a place where they can go, where they can get good.
Patricia, I think part of the problem there too is women don't know where to look for the help. Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Tell me more about that with your experience. Like, you've come to know that that's something you can do now. What was it like before?
You know how I got into it? I talked to a friend of mine that I used to work with, and he worked at the bank. He told me to go walk down the street, walk into the Guelph Business Center, and go tell them I wanted to start a business. And that's exactly what I did. And from there, it just grew.
That's great. That's a great story. Yeah. So you enjoy what you do, and you are a woman who is after the 60s. Like, I talk to women about whether they want to retire or not. Is there anything that you would say to someone who's thinking, especially now with the pandemic, this is sort of caused a lot of women to think about, is it time for me to exit from work? Or is it time for me to start something new? Is there anything that you would say to those particular women?
I would tell them to go after whatever it is they want to do. That's exactly what I would tell them to do. Mm-hmm. It doesn't matter how old you are or anything. It doesn't even matter if you're disabled, whatever. Yeah. There's nothing stopping you, just yourself.
Yeah, that's good. Do you have a favorite photograph of yourself when you were a young girl?
Probably not when I was younger.
Okay.
It would probably be one with my dad.
All right.
My dad was very influential.
Good. Tell me more about that. I'd love to hear stories about dads and daughters.
My dad was kind of like, how can I put it? He was like a maverick, if you want to call him that. He did all different types of entrepreneurship things. And that's probably where I got it from, like watching him and learning from him. But he did all different types of work. And from there, he went into business for himself. He was very successful at it.
Good. So you picked up the entrepreneurial spirit, and also I guess you'd say the courage to be able to do something like that.
Yes.
rather than have a job. You are now an entrepreneur, and from what I understand, you provide employment for quite a few other. I think it's mostly women that you provide the
Right,
employment.
right now, Patricia, it is. I have had both. I've had men and women.
Yeah, good. So you're passing on that entrepreneurial spirit to them, which is great. If you were to have some insight to share in the past year related to your life and work, what would that be?
Life and work. Hmm.
Yeah.
It's been a really tough struggle. Like it's far more than what I ever had anticipated. Like when I started this, I had no idea what was involved in it, like how big it really was.
Yeah, it became bigger than you thought, right?
Yes. And the big thing is just don't give up. No matter how hard it is, do not give up.
So that's the insight that you have is keep on going, don't
Keep
give
on
up.
going. Yeah, there's help out there. Just keep on going. You just need to ask for it.
Good. That's a good note to end on. Well, not to exactly end there. What's next for you?
I'm going to keep on building up my business.
Uh-huh. Good.
Yeah.
Good. That's great. Well, thank you very much for your time today, Dianne. It's been wonderful. I love the story about your dad, and I love the story about taking your loss and making it a purpose with a value of humility. I thought that was just amazing. I'm very appreciative of you spending time with me today, and I wish you all the best in your business.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.